Hi everyone, and thank you for tuning in. My name is Seb Francis, and I am one of the co-founders and directors at Titus. If you saw our video a couple of weeks back, maybe a week back, you will have known that throughout Black History Month, we are chatting with and interviewing a whole range of successful and influential Black figures from the community to hear their story and understand a little bit about what they think when it comes to Black History Month, Black Lives Matter, and all things race. So as our first guest, I'm delighted to chat with Marvina Newton, who is from Leeds, not too far from where we're based at Titus. And Marvina is a Black activist, I think is probably the best way to describe her. Amazingly energetic woman, done a whole load of stuff with the Black Lives Matter movement in Leeds, also working with Black Pound Day, supporting Black businesses and challenging people to find and work with what she describes as Black allies. So we have a wonderful conversation for about an hour or so. I could have spoken to her for 2-3 hours happily, but I appreciate you've all got stuff to do as well. So have a little listen, let us know what you think, and tune in for more over the next few weeks. Cheers. Well, Marvina, thank you ever so much for joining us and chatting. How are you?
I am feeling excited to talk to someone like you. I think I'm looking at Black excellence. So to me, it's always great to meet power in different rooms. But to be honest to you, I dread Black History Month. So like I'm literally just meh about the whole Black History Month now. It is just, we've been given a month to be Black, so I'm going to be blackly back this month. So.
Yeah, super Black, all the way.
Yeah, all the way true. So, yeah, that's how I'm feeling. How are you feeling?
Yeah, good. Thank you for asking. Yeah, I'm very good. It's interesting as well when you say about the Black History Month, and it's one of the points I was going to come on to, so we can touch on that first actually, but it's around like, is it enough being a month? Is it something that should just be ingrained throughout life full stop and into education and discussions? Is it patronizing? Is it a nice thing that's been recognized? So those are the kind of thoughts that we've been having and discussing internally at Titus. So you tell me then, so you're a bit meh about Black History Month. Why that? What does it mean to you? What do you think of it?
So Black History Month for me is a great tool if it's used the right way. It's a great tool for us to be able to amplify the voices of Black contribution to Great Britain, to the world. And it's also a great opportunity to really look within and see what we need to do to re-educate ourselves, to realign ourselves with our aims and the visions and our goals, whether we're Black or white. Is brilliant. The idea, when it was created and inspired by Linda Bellows and other great founders of Black History Month in the UK, they were spot on. What we have now is quite tokenistic. So I am Black 365 days. And if we're going to do Black history, I want to see that in my curriculum. I want you to be able, having 2 beautiful brown skinned kids, I want them to be able to look at their reading list and be able to see key figures who've inspired change in the UK. No offense to America, I live in the UK, but everything you've been taught around Black history is Americanized. But we don't hear about the impact of Mary Seacole in the UK. We don't hear about, that Arthur Franks, who created the first West Indian Carnival. We don't hear about David Oluwole, the first racial justice case from police brutality. That there's so many amazing history. We don't talk about our Black princess, though, like the Black Queen. We don't talk about Prince Alimayu, who's from Eritrea, Ethiopia, who died in Headingley. The only Black prince buried in Windsor Castle. And he lived in Headingley. You know what I mean? We've got some really amazing history that even being able to pinpoint these individuals. We don't talk about how we decolonize the economy, the curriculum, the society, the whole vibration of Great Britain would not be great without the positive contribution of everyone, mostly the Black contribution from World War I till day one now. There were Black people in Britain before slavery. So For me, Black History Month can be so much more if we can figure out how to integrate it to everything that we are. As a business, as a society, as a charity, just constantly looking at ways to take that to the next level, I think. So that's why I feel mad. That's the mad feeling I'm feeling, because it feels like everybody forgets my phone number, then it's Black History Month, and they're like, let's get the blackest Black woman in the world who's gonna just do something, and we're gonna call her, and she's gonna turn up, and she's gonna just tell us how we need to do better, and then we do nothing about it for another 365 days, and then we come back to her and show her we did nothing, no social impact.
Well, yeah, that's it. And I think one thing within Titus that, and you chatted with Dec, you chatted with Luke, I think Callum probably involved, and a number of others as well. We started, so it was when, and it's interesting when you said like the Americanism and the British side and stuff, but it was ultimately the whole George Floyd event this year that prompted a lot of this conversation. And maybe a week and a half had gone past since that had happened, and we have like a morning brief where we all get together, we all chat, and no one had mentioned it, no one had discussed it. And it's probably because it's a bit of an awkward conversation. Even though we're doing all this now, I, as the founder, am the only black face who works within the company. We've got a few people of Asian descent and Asian background who are working with us, but there's probably that piece as well why people didn't touch on it. But we were really keen, and hence the reason we're having these discussions, and we'll continue far after October and Black History Month, is because we want to make sure it keeps going. So we've been every day, every week, every month since those discussions have started. We've tried to carry it on, which internally for us has been really good. And then we obviously want to share that more widely. What would you say, because you'd mentioned around like the curriculum and the education piece, obviously the dream is to have all of this Black British history built into the education system as it should be. That being kind of the final goal, what do you think are other steps in and amongst that either individuals can be doing, corporations can be doing, families can be doing to kind of better understand, better educate as well, and fill that gap as we move towards that?
So I think the first thing everyone needs to do is that we need to educate ourselves. We all need to educate ourselves to understand our privilege. We all sit in position of power. People, when they hear the word privilege, they think, well, I don't earn that much, I don't do that much. Privilege is something you're given, you don't work for it. So some people, their privilege is just their skin color. Some people, their privilege is the fact that you're the founder of your organization. My privilege is you worked hard to get to where you got to. Do you understand what I mean? My privilege is the fact that I'm in this conversation with you. So I'm going to ensure that I advocate for the inclusion of as much people's voices. I've changed my privilege and turned it into power. So let's start from an individual basis. As an individual, we all have the capacity, every single person, irregardless of whether you're employed or not employed, we have the capacity to tackle racism. Everyone. We have the capacity to tackle inequality, and your silence is consent. Let us sit in. So when you see something of any injustice being done to any human being and you're quiet, the thing about Britain is that we don't know how to have challenging conversation. We will talk about everything under the sun, including the weather.
Yeah, mainly the sun, or the lack of it.
Or the lack of the sun. This is the only country that we're like, it's raining again. Yes. No, like, it's the obvious. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, and, oh, what did you do over the weekend? Well, I did. And I'm thinking, like, bro, just talk about the fact that racism exists. It's there. And then you hear people say, you know what? Yeah, I'm not racist, but as you say, but that's a big problem. There's no but about this, because then I don't want to hear about your brother's sister's dog that is Black. I really don't care who is far removed from you that is Black. That one time you turned up to the Black Lives Matter protest and you look at me, I held a poster and I said Black Lives Matter. No, I want to hear, what do you do to re-educate people in your line of contact? That means in your household, that uncle you know that always says the Black joke that is not right. That auntie that would see someone and can't just help but want to touch my hair. That kind of little things that we do, the little microaggressions, start with yourself. And everybody can do this. The next step is, how do we decolonize the media? When you don't see people that look like you, sound like you, share your culture, not only would you start assuming those people do not contribute into the system, but there's a certain standard of what you might perceive them. So that straight away means that we need to change and create content that celebrates positive deviance. And I use the word positive deviance because you know what? We always talk about negative deviance, or we have a narrative that we think all Black people should fit. Basketballer, singer, dancer, rapper, killer, like it's like those kind of things. So you wouldn't know the fact that I'm a microbiologist. That's what I did. I studied. I used to work in histopathology. I used to cut body parts for a living. Big up to girls in science. Amazing. Black girl magic all day, every day. Guess what? I'm also an entrepreneur. I run a youth organization, again, founded by me. Like, there's some various facets that makes me me. And when we start showing all the different narrative of what Black can look like, that then changes the narrative that our white community perceives of us, but also change the narrative that we perceive ourselves. How many famous dark-skinned girls do you see of me, like me, leading any newspaper article? How many dark-skinned? The Black woman is the most undervalued, disrespected in the whole world. And I mean the dark woman. Let's put it that way. If you Googled in the past, we used to do this activity with young Black girls where you can type beautiful women and for you to see how many Black women would turn up. Do you know how that affects your psyche on Google or any media platform? So now this comes into technology now. Technology is advancing in such a beautiful way. Media is going crazy. How do we now change how apps represent diversity? I like the fact you look at the emoji and we've seen over the years how the emojis have changed and shown that difference. So I actually challenge the tech companies to say, hey, what brilliant ideas can you do to show that diversity in your brand? Are you looking at, you said something in the beginning, I am the founder, and that's power. I can imagine how many Black boys need to just see you to be like, what? Did he just say he's running a company? And right now, my man's in Dubai or in Abu Dhabi doing some projects. And guess what? His team approached us on Black Lives Matter Leads because they believe in his leadership as a Black man. And they feel that it's important that they learn how to be better allies to include diversity and invest in Black people. Are you hearing that? Do you know how many lives that could change? That's what you call a team that is invested in what equality and diversity is. And one thing we are trying to do, the fourth one is investing in Black people kite mark. Yes, I said it. We need companies. It's easy for everyone to come with L'Oreal and Prada and all these big companies to say Black Lives Matter. And I want to see your kite mark. How do I measure what you're doing? How do I know there is a quality standard now to know how you diversify your boards? And I'm going to be doing that with Titus, whether you like it or not. I just actually dropped your name with Bradford College, by the way, telling them you're potentially one of the top ally organizations to support Black youths in looking at development them and giving them opportunities to excel in tech.
Like that.
Without even asking your permission, because from the time you're having this conversation with me, I'm assuming that you want to do everything you can do to make a difference. And I've refused to do interviews and I've refused to have workshops or go to events if they're not able to show me a plan of action that will hold them accountable for the work they're going to do moving forward. So that, and investing in Black people kite mark. The last bit is building a Black allies network. Let me explain how this is very important. You've got your LGBT ally, you've got your disabled ally, you've got your trans ally, you've got your dolphin allies, you've got your dog allies, you've got your environment allies. For real, I don't know who my Black allies look like. Do you? We assume we know, don't we? Do you know who your Black allies are?
Well, do you know, it's interesting. Going back to the point you made about the team, that's where I was hugely impressed and pleased and proud, because I was the one who ultimately raised the initial conversation in relation to when George Floyd, where it started, and Black Lives Matter and all the rest of it moving on. But then Mike, who's my co-founder, a white guy, he'd said, listen, just because you've raised this and you're Black, not everything needs to come from you. Like, I want to get behind this. I want to support this. I want to support you. So you look at that, and then you look at the team, and I've bounced in between where I don't want to step on the toes, but then also you've had the team who are also just like massively engaged, massively interested. They're looking at how they can better understand things themselves, educate themselves, share stuff with the families. What do they say to the kids? How do they teach the kids different messages, stories, the value of people as a whole, and stuff like that? So if I was to look outside of it, I know plenty of people who've got my back, but I think for me, the proudest piece is the team within Titus and how they've kind of jumped on stuff as allies, as you said it.
And that's the thing about Black allies. The Black allies need to understand that, in fact, Black allyship is not in the dictionary. So that's another thing we need to get in the dictionary ASAP. Black Allies Network needs to be trademarked, and happy to work with whoever the partners are to get that done. And the reason I'm saying that, someone was like, well, I'm a white ally. And I go, I hear you. But I feel like I'm a white ally to white people. So I'm an ally to a lot of white people. Like, I support their cause, I feed them, I do a food bank, I do youth workshop, I teach.
Got you.
And I feel like, can you be my ally? Even, how come you can't even take the name? Like, you gave us Black. So like, I'm giving it back to you, like, say, hey, let's share this. And the reason it's important, I'm saying, let's share this, it is not on the Black person's role to dismantle racism, because we didn't create it. In fact, we were calm, chilling in Africa, living our best life. Then guess what? A group of people used religious connotation and decided, oh, look at these guys just living their best life, building pyramids, like having a good lecturing system, and, living quite, Masa Musa, quite successful we were. And I really need people to understand the Black history to that. We were successful. We were pioneering. We discovered maths. Let that sink in. We already had like architect systems that even Great Britain did not have. Let that sink in too. The first human remains was found in Ethiopia. And for some reason, again, Black history is whitewashed because it's called Lucy. And obviously we found Chad too the other day. And they just found out that Chad was also Black. So that was really traumatic to a lot of people. you know what I mean? I don't know any Eritrean called or Ethiopian called Lucy, but apparently that's the name they chose to give her. But then you look back at the whole thing. To be a Black ally, racism was, we were all part of one race. There was none of this rubbish. Someone who was, no offense to let you know, as a shocker, white, decided we're going to create a system. And we're going to try and show how other people are lesser. And that gives us the power. This is a marketing plug, guy. Let's talk marketing and business. So those who understand business, I want to be able to get that contract. But for me to get that contract, which is Black people, and turn them into slaves, to get obviously free labor, I'm going to need to make them not look human. I'm going to need to make them think I am their savior. Welcome, aka white savior complex. And I'm going to go to them and propose to them. And I know a lot of people say a lot of Black people sold themselves into slavery. Listen, the option was die or we'll kill you anyway, or we will sell you into slavery. I'll show you some guns and I'll show you some money. And there you go. Give me some of the people that you were going to send to prison. That's how it started. Slavery has always existed in every country, all over the world. It's always been there. But what happened to Black people was just dehumanizing, okay? That being said, Black allies need to then understand that history and then think about the fact that to dismantle this is not on the Black people. Because we didn't create this whole thing. Just the same way we didn't create coronavirus, and we've got like World Health Organization, all the government officials trying to find a cure. We need our Black allies, lovely Black allies, we love you. You need to start talking to your other people, you know what I mean? And say, listen, This is not okay. No human being should feel this way. When we say Black Lives Matter, it's not up for debates. It's not an argument. It's not saying, because for the all life matter people, please, Jesus, give me the strength, Black Jesus. For the all life matter people, if all lives matter, where were you when refugees were being drowned in the ocean? Where were you when slavery were happening? So I guess all life matters just matters now, right? Because now you feel like your life doesn't matter. Are you in danger right now? Are you able to access healthcare? Do you get to celebrate your own public holiday? Do you get to use your language in the workplace? Does your hair ever seem to be seen as unprofessional, growing in its natural states? How is your life being affected? For all life matter people, I'm going to use a good analogy, and I need you to listen to this. And I'm trying to really not be an angry Black woman. And I know when Black women talk passionately, we sound aggressive. So if you see I am code switching, I'm not even putting my African accent, because if I put that now, you're not going to be able to handle that.
Go for it.
That? So let me beg you now, and see, I'm begging you to listen to this in this way. So imagine I did this activity with my daughter, and it's a good thing. My daughter came home and said to me, "Mommy, I know you say Black Lives Matter, but should all life not matter?" Boom. And I was like, okay. I go, this is a teachable moment. Aha. I was like, okay, Angel, fine. My daughter loves to eat, and I've made jollof rice, you know what I mean? Not the Ghanaian one, the Nigerian one. By the way, Nigerians and Ghanaians did not create jollof rice. It was made by Senegal. But imagine we're fighting over something that we didn't even create. But anyway, when I say fighting, we're not really fighting. It's a joke, but it's like a big thing around jollof rice. If you don't know it, go and try it.
Yeah.
Buy black pounds. Go and spend in a Black restaurant and enjoy some jollof rice.
We're going to talk about that soon.
Yeah. So a good example I did with my daughter to explain the all life mattered stuff. I love food. She loves food. I have a son too. And we made dinner, but I only plated for my son and myself. We first had our appetizer, and it was nice. You know, we had some like plantain, you know, with some like, and my daughter, we brought the food out, and she was like, she looked at me like, "Mom, like, where's my food?" And I was like, "Angel, why are you being selfish? Me and your brother are very, very hungry. All stomachs matter. Like, how dare you?" I go, "Can you just wait for us to eat?" And she was like, okay. In her head, she's like, okay, like, fair enough. Mom is right. Mom's hungry. She's been working all day. And Genesis is hungry too. So like, Mom needs to feed her. And she went in the kitchen, and I made sure I hid the pot. So she couldn't see no other rice and no pot. So in her mind, she's just thinking there must be rice somewhere, because these guys are eating rice and plantain, and that plate looks hella nice. We finished eating. My son said he couldn't even finish his food because I gave him more, and I know he can't finish the food. So he was like, "I'm full, Mom, I can't eat." I was like, "Oh, you know what, yeah? Just chuck it in the bin." And he was like, "Oh, can I?" And Angel was like, "Oh, I'll eat it." I was like, "Angel, how selfish are you?" I go, like, "Why are you watching us while we're eating? Like, why are you making it about yourself?" And she was like, "Okay." I was like, "You know what, Genesis, you can put the food in the microwave and you can eat that later. Or you know what, I will eat it later." Totally ignoring that Angela said, "You know what, I'll take the scraps." Like, literally, she's like, "I will take whatever is left over." And we're there, we're watching, obviously, TV. I'm a nerd, so we're watching X-Men because I'm weird, because that's what we do, Comic-Con girls. And we got pudding now, you know, lovely, lovely, lovely meat pies, like an African dish. It's beautiful. And then we also had some ice cream on the side. Beautiful, like Genesis even had two. I go, "What ice cream do you want?" And he said he wanted like a whole mixture. And Angel's like, "Oh, do I get pudding?" I was like, "Angel, you're really making us unable to eat here because you're always talking about yourself. Like, why can't you just let us eat? Like, don't you think we deserve to have pudding?" And at that moment, I saw her eyes and she was about to bust, because this is her favorite thing that we're giving. And I was like, "Angel, all life matters." And she paused. And I actually want to cry because at that moment she goes, oh my gosh, she's 9.
Yeah, right. I was going to ask how old she is. Yeah,
She's 9. She's in year 5, and she's like, that sounds silly now when I say it, because it's true. All stomachs matter. Everybody needs to eat. But when some people are eating and others are still scrounging and willing to take the scraps from your meal, and you're still saying, well, hold up, all lives matter. In fact, blue lives matter. No one is saying police officers. I'm not here talking. They're good police officers. And Black Lives Matter is not about police brutality only. Please, people, get this in your brain. Black Lives Matter is not, there have been more George Floyds in the UK. People have been going through so much discrimination. And I'm going to ask you a question in a bit around this. Because a lot of people say, I've never experienced racism. And I'm like, I need to sometimes dumb it down to, have you ever walked into a space and people never expected it to be you when you walked into a space? Because they've spoken to you on the phone and they thought you might have been white. But as soon as they walk in and they know they're about to deal with you and you're the person with the purse strings, let me not break it down. Have you ever walked into a space where, how did that make you feel? Explain that situation. So the world
it's, and I'll share the link alongside the post, but I wrote an article just on LinkedIn a few months back, and it's really interesting the amount of kind of things that you probably suppress through your life, which are either kind of smaller racist events or incidents, or all ones that are very obvious, and both small and large you kind of suppress or you forget. But yeah, the walking in places happens all the time, and that could less so now, I think, probably through things like LinkedIn and stuff like that, where people may have seen your picture. But you definitely, I was 22 when I started Titus, and I'd call up on the phone. I've got quite a broad Yorkshire accent, and then you'd sit in there as like a young Black guy, and the teacher, usually, because we worked with schools a lot, would come out and they'd go to the receptionist. I'm here to see Seb Francis, and they should go, he's over there, and he'd go, that guy, like that. But every time, without fail, I'd stand up, I'm like, boom, hand out, shake your hand, how you doing? But yeah, I'd had that pretty much every meeting for the first however long. And it's bad that you get used to it and kind of deal with it and expect it. But that it does happen. It does make you feel like shit as well at first, and an ongoing basis. And I think a lot of these discussions now are kind of bringing some of those thoughts and feelings to the forefront, where you may not have been upset, you just deal with it, but then actually it does bring upset and anger and frustration and stuff. So yeah, that's happened plenty.
And this is the thing with Black people. We call, so in Black Lives Matter, we call that the Black experience, a pure moment of discrimination. You faced it, but you're just sitting there like, and you're turning around like, did anyone notice that just happened to me? And you start, and this is also how gaslighting racism can be. Racial gaslighting is real. And I know you're thinking like, what? Like, there's something narcissistic about racism. Let's just call it that. Because can you imagine you going through discrimination and you sitting there questioning, was that guy racist to me? Am I making this about race? Did he just call me the N-word? Or did he just tell me that you're pretty for a Black girl? And that is seen as a compliment to a lot of people. And you speak so well. Well, I respond and say, well, I was colonized by the British Empire and we've only had 60 years of freedom. So thank you so much for me speaking so well. And that sometimes they could see that as me being, passive aggressive, but I think it's quite passive aggressive to assume that I wouldn't know how to speak English. You know what I mean? And I go, would you like me to speak like this? Would that help you be able to deal with me a little bit better? Like, what else do you want me to do? And I think this is where it's very important with Black allyship. If you're going to be a Black ally, you need to do it wholeheartedly, and you need to make sure you put your resources where your mouth is. No more doing things of, well, we might give some volunteering opportunities to Black youths. Well, Black youths are quite resourceful and they're quite intelligent. So do not assume that they need you to save them. They need you to help them create a pathway so they can be in those boardrooms. because we're not being invited to those boardrooms. Does that make sense? It's about looking at those clear missed opportunities. So let's say you're about to do your marketing campaign as a Black ally. And normally you have a database of loads of white photographers. What you can choose to do is hire, guess what? A Black photographer, not because he's Black, but because he's good at doing photography. Simple. I'm not asking you to do affirmative action. I'm just asking you to diversify your list of contractors, your list of commissioners, your list of businesses. Just do that, your contacts, and it makes you look good. And guess what? For those in business that are thinking, is this going to cost me more? Maybe or maybe not, but it makes you look good in your value statement. And you might be able to access, let me help those that are money driven, EU funding on equality, and meet some kite marks on funding. I know this sounds crazy, but I'm helping your bottom line here. I'm trying to make you not look racist. And that is very hard to do if you don't believe that your system needs to change. So every system needs to change. I need to change my system. I had to say to someone the other day, they asked me, Marvina, you talking about equality and diversity, how many play dates has your son had with white kids? And I was like, he must have. Like, and I sat there, I was like, he plays with them in school. And then I found myself doing what I assume most white people do when they're trying to justify themselves. I was like, Genesis, you got a friend, like, yeah, there's Rocco, yeah, he's white. And then, and I started stuttering. And I sat there and I was like, unconscious bias. You're doing it too, Marvina. And straight away, I'm like, play dates. And I actively said, okay. And I realized, why have you felt uncomfortable with your children going to the neighbors? I live in Bramley, so no one should feel that's like, I can't explain Bramley to anyone. The only way is Bramley. If you don't live here, I can't explain it to you.
I've been to Bramley, I got you.
So before anyone comes for me. But I proactively said, I had to sit there and think, what is my unconscious bias training of beliefs that makes me feel uncomfortable with my Black son going to play in a white boy's house? And straight away, I thought about that. And yes, there were flags. And I'll be honest to you, the flags were, one, if something broke or something got stolen, he might be perceived as the person to do it. Two, my son and daughter have never heard the N-word or been around kids that would say the N-words, or they brought in such a spiritual household where I really sheltered them. Like, they think shut up is a swear word. Like, really, like, my son will ask your consent before he takes your picture. We live in a gender neutral house. They believe a man can marry a man and a woman can marry a woman. And some people are gender, like, you have to ask people their pronoun. They're weird. In my house, we aspire to be weird. That's the aim. The game is to be weird, not be normal. So I just don't know, in my mind, I had this whole preconceived notion of protecting my Black son, that my daughter, on the other hand, has gone out and had play dates and gone to parties and done things. But with my Black son, I felt this thing where I was scared. And now this is the first time I'm vocalizing it out of, he's cute now because he's 8, but I'm ready. I'm seeing that he's going to be tall, and he's light skinned. So he's got a little bit of light skin privilege. My daughter is dark skinned. So yeah, she's like me. So she's going to get some of the energy that I get from the world. But I'm thinking, I don't want him to experience hate yet. I don't want him to experience any discrimination yet. And that's the reality of it, really. So
yeah, it's tough on. How old's your son? You said your daughter's 9. How old's your son?
He's 8. He's 8.
He's 8. Yeah, but I think it's tough though, because I was thinking back to my primary school days when I would have probably been around your son's age, maybe a year or two older. That for me is probably when I can remember the most kind of either racist comments or remarks, and be that kind of very direct or kind of Yeah, probably looking back at it, not even realizing things were being said or done, but then you go back and, that's why that was said, or jokes that have been made and you kind of laugh along with them because you don't really know any better at that particular age. But the sad thing is it does start when you're younger, and often, and I'd like to think often, the people who say those things or do those things at the time then grow out of it. But you never really kind of grow out of those things that you've heard. And this is not to put a downer on the situation in terms of school, but that's the truth of it.
This is important. It's World Mental Health Day on Saturday. No one looks at the impact of racism or institutionally racist system on our mental health. Did you get to take a mental health day after George Floyd died? When you face racism, when someone tells you, they says something that affects you emotionally and makes you question your self-worth, or can you imagine the first time you experience a teacher that you were, or headmaster you were meant to go and pitch your business idea to, not thinking you fit the description for the person about to put that business idea to him, but you probably fit as description for a stop and search though. How does that make you feel when you go home? I see people not being able to acknowledge the impact it has on our psyche and our self-esteem. Because I know everyone talks about the law of attraction and, manifest what you have and what you want and, go for it. And I know a lot of people can also say, forget about this race thing. Really, you just need to work hard, aim harder, do what you got to do, grind, you've got all the videos that tells you what to do around that. But I could say this on a personal level. If I was a white woman doing what I'm doing right now around activism, I'll be earning a lot of money. I'll be successful. I would never have to bargain what my rate is. I'll send an invoice and people will be like, that sounds about right. I would never have to sell myself to be acknowledged in certain rooms. But I know what I do that is different from a lot of other Black women. And I also acknowledge the privilege. I walk into a room knowing that I am entitled to be in that freaking room. I don't ask permission. I don't need you to give me a pat on the back to say, well done, you've done well. I know I've done well. But I also don't pretend that my struggles are not there. I don't pretend and not acknowledge that not everybody can be vocal like I am. My son was in school, this was this year, and during Breakfast Club, someone said to him, Black boys are stupid. Well, let me put this in context. He tried to do something for someone and the person said, I don't want you to do it because Black boys are stupid. Who do you assume is the person that told him that? Do you think it's a white boy or a Black boy?
The assumption would be a white boy or a white girl.
Was a due heritage boy. The reason I said I need to put that connotation, it must have been something he heard someone else say. And sometimes hate is taught. It's something that we teach. It's not natural for us. So again, the first thing I did when I heard that, school called me because I used to be a governor in the school, was like, oh shit. Found out Black Lives Matter song was told that he was stupid. Black boys are stupid. Oh, let's just call the mom. And they called me. They got someone from the pastoral team to call me. Hi, Marvina Newton. Genesis mom. I'm just calling you because there's been an incident. And I was like, Jesus Christ, what's happened? I was thinking the boy's probably put something up his nose, or he's done something, because my son in reception put Lego up his nose and it got stuck there for a bit. So in my head, I just know how special my son is. So I'm like, late on me. And they told me someone told him he was stupid for a Black boy. And I'm not going to lie to you. Even my response, now reflecting on it, I downplayed it. And then I was like, really? And I was like, the first question I asked, what race was the person? And they go, and I saw how quick the school was to do what I just did. Oh, it was someone that is also Black. And then later on, I realized it's someone that's dual heritage that actually passes for white. It doesn't look black at all. And then again, I was thinking, and they were like, oh, they started laying it thick on me, all the reasons that I like, well, you know, the boy is in, you know, like a different kind of school from the school. And you know that like really is out of character and his parents. And I'm like, why are you telling me all this story? On the fact that my son has just experienced what it does. And that's what we do. When terrorism happens, black is terrorist, white is mental ill. I think Family Guy is a good example, you know, when they did that whole color grade.
It'll jog my memory.
So Family Guy, you guys are getting to see how uncool I am and what I do with my spare time.
Family Guy is brilliant.
It's brilliant. So back in the day, there's something called the paperback test. Do you know about that?
Nope.
Oh, okay. So let's do some Black history here. So during slavery, a white slave master would rape a black slave to create lighter skinned kids that were able to become slaves indoors. So that then seeped into what we see in society today, where in the media, it will always be the lighter skinned people. But in America and in certain parts, you would have to pass the brown paperback test to be able to get a certain job in certain places of influence where you were public facing. Does that make sense? So when you go down the gradients, the darker you are, the more potential of you being a criminal, a hood, terrorist, someone not to trust, and someone that's not pretty. And the lighter you get, the more racially susceptible and acceptable you are to society. So when it even comes in the scale of even in beauty campaigns, like Naomi Campbell said that like she used to go to places and they wouldn't have foundation for her skin. You would have people that will be in dating website where people say, I don't date black. and I remember being on a dating website and someone's like, black bodies are fetishized and sexualized really quickly in various arena. It's quite depressing when you think about it, where someone might just want to date you for your blackness. There's the excitement of having dual heritage babies now. Me and you can make some mixed race baby, you know, like swirl. I'm like, what the hell? That's not attractive. It's not saying that I don't want to date someone from another race. I've never done it, but that's not of people out there, that's not a pickup line. It's not attractive. Don't do that to black women. We don't need all black men. And what's important about the gradient around that is that colorism plays a big part in racism. Colorism was created by an institutionally racist system to favor or reward people that chose to keep quiet to the abuse and only put people that they thought mimicked British white value or the Eurocentric standard of beauty. So I'm looking at you, Seb, and I'm realizing you actually have kinky hair. For a dual heritage boy, you didn't end up with the soft curly. Yeah, do you understand what I mean? Like you've got
the bounce.
You've got the bounce. Actually, you've got the bounce. But you've got kinky hair. And I don't know if you have sisters or brothers similar with your hair.
Yeah.
Do you have a sister? Does she have curly?
Yeah, I've got a younger sister, and hers is not quite as tight as mine. But then, so it's funny again to going back a little bit to what you were saying about Genesis and Angel, I suppose. But when you're kids, when my younger sister Adassa, if she got out of the shower ever, and and her hair would be like a big ball of this, and me and my mum would always be like, it looks good, it looks so cute, and then she'd be like, I don't want it like this, I want it straight. All my friends have it straight, blah blah blah. So there's those kind of discussions, that go on.
Do you know what's amazing about it? My hair used to be relaxed, and let me explain what relaxing is. Relaxing, Madam CJ Walker, big up to you. Yeah, you know, the first black.
Good program. Have you seen it on Netflix? It's a good recommendation.
Good recommendation. To be accepted into society, we were expected to have straight hair. And so when I was younger, my mom used to, every 2 weeks, put the relaxer in, and let me explain the process. Hurts. It is painful because literally it's the same cream you use to remove, it's almost the same formula to that of removing your hair from your body. Hair removal cream. The only difference is that it's not as harsh as a hair removal cream. But that's why with hair removal, your hair goes straight. So imagine that's what we put in our hair to chemically straighten our hair so we can look like Becky with a good hair. No offense to all the Beckys out there. Just saying. So that used to be something that had to be done all the time. I had my daughter, and then she came out with like Nubian queen hair. Like first couple of her years, she didn't have hair because kids, I don't know why, they come out bald and looking like aliens. But parents don't want to say that. They want to say the kids look cute as they come out. They look like boogly eyes. I remember thinking, ew. But like then I was like, oh, I'm meant to love this. But I do. We need to do a chapter to get parents to talk the truth about parenthood.
Yeah.
Let them stop lying. Let them stop lying about, oh my gosh, I just always wanted to be a parent. You lied. You can't piss by yourself. You can't sleep by yourself. They always wanted to eat your food. They ask you questions like they are politicians trying to catch you out. Anyway, back to the real issue, Black Lives Matter. My daughter saw my hair. I had about 22 inches long black hair, relaxed, really natural, no weave, just beautiful. And my daughter at 20 months or 24 months saying, Mommy's hair is soft and nice. I want my hair like Mommy's hair. The day she said that, I went to Hair Hills at Kuna Matata as a barbershop, and I shaved my hair.
Did you?
I think my ex-husband cried more than I did. He was like, what? He was like, what? Like, babes, you could teach her this lesson, sure, another way. Let's baby step it. Why don't you grow it out? Like, this is, and I was like, bro, we're just gonna go cold turkey. And I made sure my daughter, my son was maybe like 5 months then, she was sat there and saw Mommy shave her hair. And then she watched my hair grow curly like hers. And she was like, so by 2 years, when she's 2 years, she's like, my hair is just like Mommy's hair, you know, that kind of thing. So the only way we can teach children to embrace their self is not to just pretend, which is PC, like your hair is beautiful, it's nice, but to show them examples of positive actions to embrace your identity. So I'm assuming you said your mom is British. Did you say your mom is British?
Yeah. Correct, yeah.
I bet your mom tried to immerse you guys around different people of different culture. I'm just assuming to...
Yeah, we did get a mix.
Best of her ability, really. And what your mom did is what I think a great mom can do for her daughter, to just say, you're beautiful with your natural hair. A lot of moms that are white don't know what to do to black hair. So they fall into the prey of straightening and not knowing how to empower their kids. And maybe with Black Lives Matter and partnerships and key blogs and networks, we can do those kind of things. So definitely we need to look at colorism in our way of working. I know you've got different content that you can cut out and make shorter, but how do we show beauty standards in different ways? So your sister, your younger sisters, your nieces, your nephews can see themselves and just be like, damn, I'm perfect. But I feel for black men. As a black man, how do you feel? Because no one ever asks you how you feel.
How do I, in what context? In what context?
How do you feel around this new world that we live in?
It's tired, if I'm very honest.
That's good.
It's been it's been a tough year for a lot of people for a lot of different reasons. I think specifically around the topics of race, I've probably never quite been as aware of my race as I am now, both in a positive light and a not so positive light. So it has been, but the one thing, it's almost like I'm willing to accept that tiredness, and I say tired like the conversation, or sometimes the attention, or sometimes the topic, or just you kind of see things in a completely different light again. And you will be the same as I am, I'm sure. You can watch a film and you will pick up on certain things that are said, or why they said, or did it, and then you go, did you see that? And you're watching it with, and they go, see what? And you're like, surely you saw that.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Get out. I swear. Get all your get out. But I like the fact you use the word tired. And this is the sad part of it. It's tiring. I need everyone watching this to understand being Black is tiring. We want to always say Black power, you know, Black is excellent, Black is beautiful. Technically, we're the only ones hyping ourselves, because like literally other people are not hyping us, because it's tiring to be in a pub like with your friends, and you know when everyone gets drunk, they're gonna come with that dumb question, and you're trying to chill, like they're trying to chill, and then they drop this on you, and you're like, you sober up. You're tired that you go and have you been asked if you sell weed when you go out?
Yeah, he'll sell drugs, he's Black. Usually something along those lines.
Like, and then you have to be like, even if I smoke weed now, I'm not gonna let you know, because like, that's your unconscious bias. And like, no, I don't. And it's those constant having to navigate the world. Code switching, let's talk about that. When you say you're tired, I need you to be able to look at the intersectionality of what makes you you. You're a Black man. You're also partly British. Your mom's white. You are a successful businessman. You also lead a lot of people that are not Black. I don't know whether you have any other layers that makes you you, but you have this multiple layers of experience that when someone looks at you, imagine that they remove all of this and just look at this one. Not seeing all the different facets that makes you you. But imagine someone trying to create, I don't know, what's your dietary requirement? Are you vegetarian, vegan, or meat eater?
Big meat eater.
Okay. So imagine if, and this is what services do, and as a Black ally or as an organization wanting to support Black life, this is what you should not do. We'll say, aha, we want to support Black people. We're just going to create this brand and this products without asking. And so imagine you're about to come to my house to eat, and I'm like, I'm vegan. I'm not vegan, by the way, but like I used to be. I'm vegan, and I'm going to make a vegan dish for you. And I'm going to invite you. I didn't ask you what you eat, whether you eat your steak rare, whether you eat this, whether you're allergic to, whether you can't eat spice. And I imagine I make the food very spicy, like Jamaican spicy, African spicy, Vindaloo hot, for those that need to understand it. And then I plate the food for you, and it's just pure greens, things you've never seen in your life. And then I'm like, there you go. Eat. You look at it, you might try to eat it, but you can't actually swallow. Like, it's not palatable to your taste bud. And then imagine you don't use that service no more. Then what the service user and provider is going to say, we made it for them, they did not come to eat. That's what every service does for Black people. A lot of them do that. Not 101 on community development, project management, anything you do, consult with the service users and know what the end user's need is before you create the project, right? That's lead management 101, just basic. It's the same in community. Find out what's lacking, find out what's needed, understand the different facets of the people you're trying to cater to. Some are unemployed, some are dealing with people that they've lost with COVID, some are just waking up to their activism and racism, and some people have been Black for a long time and never knew racism existed to this level. So don't assume that we are all at the same level of engagement. then create solutions that meet us all at our point of interest. And that's how I think Titus or different organization or different partner organization wanting to partner with Black Lives Matter leads, wanting to work with me in any future capacity, I will be challenging you to look at how do we make sure your projects, your plan, your future engagement to make an investment in Black people reflects all Black people. And I use the word all Black people, because some Black people are gay, some Black people are trans, some Black people got mental health, some Black people are disabled, there's so many facts. Some Black people are single mothers, some Black people are single fathers, some Black people have criminal records, fair enough. Some people are Black scientists. We come in different boxes, guys. I know that shocks you. Cater to all of that in your organization. I'm dyslexic, I'm dyspraxic, and dyscalculus, and I fall on the spectrum for autism. Like, so Asperger's. Do I look like it? No. You wouldn't know that. So these are the things. And don't assume, like, I don't assume someone's pronoun. I will ask you, Seb, what's your pronoun? Is it he, they, them, what?
His.
He, his. Great. See, I didn't assume that he was a he. Don't assume. And stop saying you don't see color. Are you blind? For those that are colorblind, it's okay. It's not a problem. But you that can see color, can you see my color? Listen, I'm not Black, you know. I'm kissed by the sun, melanin like liquid diamond. Don't forget that. So just letting you know. But you see who I am. Try and acknowledge it. You're not going to try and treat me like, I don't really care about racism. I have friends that are Black. So that justifies, but what have you done for your friends that are Black? I know what the Titus staff has done for their manager who's Black, the director and founder who's Black. What have you done? That's how we started.
Love it, Marvina. If it's okay with you, I'm going to pause right there because that seems like a gooder place as anywhere to finish up. Thank you so much for joining us. I thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. I think we'll be pushing this out as audio and video, but if you are listening on audio, then watch a little bit of the clip because you get to see how much I'm laughing all the way through that. I love that conversation. No. Thank you so much for joining us. And I've got some more questions, but maybe we'll do this another time and do some quick fire stuff.
I was gonna touch on two key things. The Black Pound Initiative. That's the big one.
Let's do that then, because that was one of the ones that I wanted to speak around.
That's a big one. That's a big one. Go for fire your question.
Yeah, well, no, you tell me that the Black Pound Initiative, we've done our research, our reading, we've got a semi-good understanding, but it'd be amazing if you could just share it in your own words.
So the Black Pound Day was initiated by someone called Sweets, who used to be part of the Solidarity crew. So the whole point of the Black Pound Day was to get people to buy Black for one day, and really give a lot to the Black community and giving Black entrepreneurs and businesses the opportunity to celebrate what they have. And every day is White Pound Day, by the way. For those who think Black Pound Day is a racist thing, you're part of the problem. That's it, simple. No explanation. I'm not asking for your approval. It's just like Black History Month. It's one month. Please, the rest of it, I learned about Henry and all his 8 wives. So now I want you to learn about me and my people and what we brought to your country. I know you don't like nothing not revolving around you, but for now, you've got 1 month, we've got 1 month, just deal with it. And you've got 1 day that we've asked for, deal with it. But the Black Pound Initiative is totally different. I feel like the Black Pound Initiative is the best way for us to, so the Black Pound Initiative is something that is my brainchild that actually I'm presenting to Titus to say, let's do something about this actually. How do we start looking at decolonizing the economy and creating a level playing field for Black businesses, Black charities, Black entrepreneurs to be able to start breaking those ceilings and getting into places. So we need to first, to do that, to get an equitable society for all, because that's what Black Lives Matter leads wants to do. How do we remove the blockers that affect people from peaking to their points of success in businesses? Loads of Black people are amazing in business, but they might not have the privilege to know all the navigation or the tips. I know the only reason and a lot of people will not believe this, that I am successful to the level I am. I had loads of Black allies, not gonna lie. They made me get into rooms that I didn't know. They introduced me to meetings that I didn't know. They taught me about programs that I didn't know. And once you can get into some of these rooms, most Black businesses will excel, hence where the Black Pound Initiative is. How do we get our Black allies to work with Black businesses to improve the Black Pound Initiative? So that means, are you buying Black? Are you able to mentor someone Black? And when I say mentor, I don't mean coach. I mean like literally using your privilege to get people that would naturally not be in spaces into spaces. Also now challenging the Black businesses and Black community, challenging people like you, Seb, to say, hey, Seb, what can you do? Can you mentor 5 Black boys for the whole of 2021? Can you be able to do an event for women in Black women in tech? Let's work on this. Let's see how we celebrate and amplify their voice. You being the ally as a man, being a feminist too, to support that, but also being a Black feminist is also great. Finding ways that you as an individual, so I'm not only talking to white people, I'm also talking to Black people, to say, what can we all do for those that are successful to give back to our community? So that's the only way the Black Pound will work. Do we start looking at funding, training programs? There are loads of people that might benefit from doing a Prince 2 course or Agile. Me too. Like, I need to update my one. I think mine is expiring soon. Like, that could be something where a company would be like, well, normally we offer training to all our staff. We can pay for 2 extra people who are from the Black community, who are running a Black business. Can you see how simple it is? It's not that complicated.
Yeah.
Or so things like that. Looking at the fact that we've got a free Black university, companies can choose to say they will sponsor a young person to go to higher education. That will give back into the Black economy, won't it? We've got architectures. Let's look at how we start building projects where communities can build their own community, and you teach people to create that, foster that relationship. But not only in the UK, let's go back to Jamaica. Let's go back to Nigeria. Let's take the African in the diaspora, the Caribbeans in the diaspora back to reinvest. That's the Black Pound Initiative. It doesn't just stop in the UK, but we need to start in our backyard, don't we? It would be nice for you to go to your old, what school did you go to, Seb?
I went to Gaisley School, just on the outskirts of Leeds.
Yeah, Gaisley. So that now, imagine if you went back to Gaisley School and you went during Black History Month and you then showed another 10 Black boys from Leeds and Bradford who've done great, and find some Black girls and some non-binary people who are Black, and you say, hey, all these guys came from Gaisley, you know, they're doing good. So guess what? You can do good too. That's part of the Black Pound Initiative. It's that simple, isn't it?
Absolutely. No, I love that.
And you can mentor them. So that's the idea around the Black Pound Initiative. It's still being formed. It's still being created. We're looking at how do we do that through apps where people can measure things, you know, like ask certain questions to be able to navigate it. We need to work with how do you market this to corporate, all the joys of building a new initiative. But I spend Black as much as I can. And you need to question yourself too, anyone watching this, how many times do you buy from a Black-led organization? How many times do you take the opportunity to go out of your comfort zone to contract someone who's Black, who gives good services? I'm not just saying just go to any Black person. I'm just saying trying consciously to give business to Black people.
Love it, yeah. And I think the important point you make there at the end is it's not a pity thing, a charity thing. It's an exposure, it's an equity thing. And with our recruitment, that's one of the things we've been looking at this year is that how do we level the playing fields a little bit? And you've answered it, in fact, through what you've just said now and what you've said earlier, but in terms of how can people do more? Because the absolute last thing, and I think I was the one who said it, Mike, who's my co-founder, said it, is like, we will never hire someone because they are older, because they are female, because they've got Black skin, because they're Asian. We'll never hire anyone, but it's how do you kind of expand your reach and how do you get more people into your circle so that you can offer those opportunities and stuff. So
So there's something I've done recently that I've advised people to do. If you notice that the people you're trying to serve are not in the room, you proactively need to take that as your responsibility to do that work. So that means if you notice your office is all white, you can also now think, where in Radford, Leeds, do we have a multi-diverse tech training like courses? So let's say Notre Dame College, let's say Bradford College. Then you give them this work experience platter where you can then get the students to do work experience with you. You have to proactively give something for free as part of your corporate social responsibility for those. And you can also do your traineeship and your apprenticeship schemes, which you get money from the government to do anyway. So that's great. So you get commissions, and you could then also apply for those who saying, well, we're all broke. Let me tell you, there's EU funding to support you hiring young people now. And there's funding to support you. I don't want to say this out there, to hire Black people. There is resources that actually gives you brownie points. Let's call a spade a spade. It's the truth. To diversify your workforce. So now all that's there. There's no excuse now to say why next year. I know next year you're not going to come to me and tell me that there's not at least 2 amazing Black fellowship you've got going on in your organization. And it's not going to take a job from another person. You might create another role. So it's about looking at finding new ways. And let's say the unconscious bias training doesn't work. So another thing we need to do is do a new, updated, real to heart, real stuff, Black ally training to make sure people are talking and tackling racism and anti-racism workshops, because the unconscious bias doesn't really do the job it needs to do. And you've done some of those training. What do you think about it?
Yeah. I understand. I don't think you're not going to do a course for 30 minutes and immediately, boom, right, there's no unconscious bias. And then the thing about it is we all have unconscious bias against different demographics, and by the very nature of it, there's nothing you can do until you're aware. So I think that the training, it's a part of it, it's a step forwards. But for us, one of the best things we did internally was doing at least some of the tests, analysis, conversation, understanding. And then when you've done all that, also being happy and willing to talk about it, and kind of not thinking, shit, I'm a bad person because I've got this unconscious bias. You're a good person because you've seen it, you've been made aware of it, you reflected on it, you're trying to change it. So that's been a big, on the unconscious bias piece specifically, that's been a big bit.
So a good example of unconscious bias, I love football, so I support everybody that like is great, but I'm a Chelsea fan. So like, to me, everybody else is dirt. I don't really care like what you have to argue at. I don't even know. But that's an unconscious. If I went into an interview with someone and someone told me they're Chelsea, I'll be like, yeah, that's my brother. Like, you'll be drawn to that. You're naturally, that's a good way to explain unconscious bias. You're drawn to things that connect you with people. But what we need to do is that we need to really, really check ourselves on a regular. That's why they tell you check your privilege. Check yourself on a regular basis and see what you can do to change that, really. Titus is doing that. So now my challenge to anyone watching this, hearing this, what are you going to do? And how are you going to support in changing your workforce, your environment, your friend circle? And how do you be the best ally you can be? Hearing this is not for Black people alone. Listen, this is for all of us. Because when we stand together, we are stronger. Let's not let the hate they give divide us. Let's educate ourselves, let's unite, and let's heal. Let's do our restorative circles, learn and speak about it. Have this challenging conversation.